Hello and welcome to another video in the series of conversations with the Big Wool Show sponsors. Today we have Prue Simmons from Dying to Weave. Prue, it's so good to see you again. How are you?
I'm really well, Chantelle. Thank you so much for having me. It's really exciting to be part of the Big Wool Show again this year.
Prue, you've been a sponsor of the Big Wool Show before. What makes you do it again?
Well, it was such a great event. It was just such a fantastic way for us to come together online, didn't matter where you were, anywhere in Australia or the world, and celebrate fibre and, learn from so many different fibre crafters out there. I think I spent a lot of money on the marketplace
I
last
may
year.
have
Like, it's
spent a
just,
little bit myself.
yeah, it's just such a beautiful way for us all to come together, spend a wonderful weekend sharing what we love. For me, it was a wonderful way for me to share my passion for Saori weaving and to let people know what that was all about. And yeah, it was such a great event. It was good fun. So I thought I have to come back again for sure.
That is so awesome. Now, you did say that you love to Saori weave. Can you tell us your journey? Because I'm sure you didn't come out of the womb with a little little loom in your hand. How did you get into it? What made you decide that this is your thing? Because we all have like an origin story of how we
Yes,
started in our crafts.
we do. Yeah, I didn't come out of the womb and straight to the loom. That's not my journey at all. It was a very
That should totally be on a
accidental.
shirt though. Out of the womb, straight to the loom. That works.
That was my daughter, actually. she did that. She's been weaving since she was 10 months old. But yeah, no, my origin story and the way that I came across Saori was incredibly accidental. It's a Japanese style of weaving, and I came across it while I was living and traveling and exploring Japan. I was
Yeah.
actually a zoologist at the time.
Oh
So
wow.
I had no creative, crafty kind of background. My poor mother had tried to teach me how to knit and like failed miserably. I just couldn't get it.
Yeah.
So I really didn't come from this fiber kind of background. But I went over to Japan to chase animals and to use the language and see the culture that I'd learned so much
Yeah.
about all through high school and university. So that was my entrance into Japan. And I was just traveling around, volunteering my way around Japan. And at the time, I was living on an island in the inland sea of Japan, and I was helping out at a little bar on the beach.
Yeah.
And season was coming to a close, and my host sort of said, "Look, we have a friend who lives in the mountains who needs help building a pizza oven. Would you like to do that?" And I thought, yeah, sure, I can build a pizza oven. So I put
I mean,
on
who
my
can't?
backpack.
Who can't build a pizza oven?
Don't we all know that? And so I thought, well, I'll just have a go. So I traveled into the mountains into Honshu, and right in the middle of Honshu, like the belly button of Honshu, right in the center, I ended up in this tiny little hamlet. And in the middle of this hamlet, and this is a tiny little hamlet in the mountains, so there's forested hills on either side. There's one little road that curves its way through the valley, follows the meandering creek, and there's about 5 houses. And in the middle of this tiny little hamlet, there's this old wooden schoolhouse, this beautiful 2-story wooden schoolhouse. And this is the address I come to build this pizza oven.
Yeah.
And so what happened is with the schoolhouse is that unfortunately in that little village and in the surrounding villages, as is the case with many kinds of small towns around the world, is the older generation start dying off, the younger generation hightail it to the city. And suddenly
Yeah.
you don't have enough kids to go to the school. So the local government advertised out the opportunity for anyone to take on the school so long as they looked after the school and stopped it from falling down and deteriorating. They could do whatever they liked with the school.
Yeah.
And so a couple had moved out from Osaka and turned it into an arts and crafts village. And
Oh
so this is
wow.
where I came to build this pizza oven. And the manager of it, Toyomi, she was a Saori weaving teacher. So they've converted the school into this amazing mecca for Japanese arts and crafts. So they turned the classrooms into bedrooms so that people can stay and artists and residents can stay and people can come and learn, or into art studios.
Yeah.
So she converted the library into her Saori weaving studio. And so instead of all of the bookshelves holding books now, they hold delicious cones of yarn.
Oh,
They
wow.
turned, it
That
was
doesn't sound
incredible.
amazing at all.
I know, right? They turned the gymnasium next to the little annex building, the gymnasium, that turned into a woodworking studio because Toyomi's husband had a real interest in Japanese lacquerwork and woodworking. So they turned that into his woodworking studio. They
Yeah.
turned the kitchen into her indigo dye studio and her Japanese eco dye studio. So
Wow.
it's just the most incredible place. It's like my spiritual home now. And this is where I came to help her build a pizza oven. And I helped build said pizza oven.
I was going to ask, did the pizza oven happen?
It really did. I carried a lot of big rocks from the creek.
Yeah.
And luckily there was someone else there to also build the pizza oven who knew what he was doing. So that was good.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Very, very helpful. But to thank me for helping her, and I stayed on for quite a while, but to thank me for helping her build this pizza oven.
Yeah.
Toyomi taught me Saori weaving.
Oh,
And
wow.
as I said, I had not done any kind of fiber craft before, much as I would have wanted to. I'd never
Yeah.
really dabbled in it. But when I did Saori, I was instantly making cloth. Like I was 2 seconds at the loom and I was instantly creating something
Yeah.
beautiful. And
Yeah.
in fact, one of my first projects that I did at the Saori loom was this beautiful top.
Oh, wow.
So this was one of my first projects, never having touched a loom before, never having touched any kind of creative fiber craft.
Yeah.
I ended up making this really lovely top. And I was hooked. I was instantly hooked. Because not only is it a way to make really, really beautiful cloth really quickly and really easily, it's
Yeah.
also part meditation. And
Yeah.
so because the looms are designed the way they are, you end up, the loom becomes an extension of your body and it's a really flowing craft.
Yeah.
And so you end up being able to just really get into a deep kind of creative meditation state. And that's what I also loved about it because I was in my 20s and I was traveling and trying to work out who I was. And so this was really wonderful to kind of help, get into that space and sort of go through that sort of stuff. So for me, it was a really accidental discovery, but it took my life on such an incredible tangent. And so I stayed with Toyomi for a number of months after that, and she took
Yeah.
me under her wing as her apprentice and taught me more and more about Saori. I ended up helping her teach at her studio. And then eventually my visa was starting to run out and I had to come home to Australia. But
Yeah.
Toyomi gifted me my first Saori loom. Now, this is 15 years ago. And so when
Wow.
I came back to Australia with the Saori loom, there was no one else in Australia doing it. No one else had heard about it. No one was doing it. So it was kind of isolating at the time because no one sort
Yeah.
of knew what I was doing or what I was talking about. But it was also my savior because when I did come back from Japan, I went straight back into the conservation industry and I went straight back into a really, really stressful job.
Yeah.
And so at the end of the day, I got to come home and just let go of the day at the loom and just relax and kind of,
It's
it was
nearly
my
like a
sanity.
meditation, like you said before. You just
It
let
really
the
is.
day go and get to, become you again.
That's right. That's right. Because the other thing about Saori too is that the philosophy is that there's no such thing as a mistake. There's no rules. There's no restrictions on what you can do. So it's a really freeing craft because you don't have to really concentrate in order to do it. You don't have to count. You don't have to worry if you've dropped a stitch or you've lost count or anything like that.
Yeah.
So it's just pure like flowing creativity. It's
So it's
almost like
kind of
painting a
like free
picture.
form, but for weaving.
Yes, very
Yeah.
much so. So yeah, so I did that at home for many years and that was my sanity. And then
Yeah.
I was very lucky as part of my work to be able to go back to Japan every year and do certain work over in Japan. When I'd finish that work, I would always tack a couple of extra weeks on to go and see Toyomi in the mountains and to just get another dose of instruction from my mentor and being in that space and being inspired by what was going on there.
Yeah.
And eventually it got to a stage where after a few years, I had lots of people coming to me and seeing what I was doing at the loom and going, oh my gosh, what is the style of weaving? Can I do this? You know, I'd love to be able to learn this. Can I buy a loom? What can I do? And
Yeah.
so I ended up on one of my trips going back there, sort of saying to Toyomi, you know, I've been just weaving by myself over there for quite a while now, but I think I'd really like to be a Saori studio. I'd like to teach this in Australia.
Yeah.
And so she said, well, go and have a chat to the founder of Saori, Masao Jo, who was the woman who developed the craft, and her son, and see if, you know, what the process is for becoming a teacher these days.
Yeah.
And so I went to them. I visited them on the way home as I was going back to the airport and stayed for a couple of days with them. And I said to them, I'm really keen to be able to teach this over in Australia. And they said, that's lovely. We know you've been doing some great work for about 7, 8 years. Toyomi sort of kept us in the loop. But if
Yeah.
you want to be a teacher with us, you have to come back to us and you have to train with us. You have
Yeah.
to learn from us, live with us, be one of us for at least a month.
Oh,
And
wow.
then, yeah, it was huge. But then at the end
That's
of
a
that 4
commitment.
weeks, it's a
Yeah.
huge commitment. They said there's no guarantee at the end of the 4 weeks that you'll be able to be a teacher. It's whether at the end of the 4 weeks we think you are part of our family and that you live and breathe those Saori philosophies. Because Saori is not only a way of weaving, but there's a beautiful philosophy behind it and a really gorgeous origin behind it as well.
Yeah.
So they really wanted to make sure that the teachers they do have out there in the world really do live and breathe those philosophies of Saori weaving. So
Yeah.
I ended up being able to go back to them, to learn from them and stay with them and become part of their family. And so now I'm one of only 3 people in Australia that teach this particular wonderful style of Saori weaving. So I feel very, very privileged that I can share
Wow.
what I'm so passionate about. And
Yeah.
so that was about now 7 or 8 years ago when I started Dying to Weave. And it's been such an amazing journey since then to be able to teach with these looms, to be able to sell these looms and have people weaving on a Saori loom in their own lounge room at home or their own
Yeah.
craft studio, and to empower people to very, very easily be able to make cloth and to really get into that meditative style of creativity.
And with making cloth, like buying cloth from the store, you can sew with it. You can make whatever you
Oh,
want with it. You're not just
absolutely.
making a scarf or a shawl, you're making something that you can then turn into a garment, a jacket,
Absolutely.
pants, whatever.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I've got a few garments just I'm wearing something as well. There we go. Got a
Yeah.
little dress on today. Yeah, absolutely. So it's not just I'm going to make 4,000 scarves. It's cloth, and it's
Yeah.
cloth for soft furnishings for the home. If you want to make, cushions or a bedspread or a thing for your couch or a throw rug or a jacket for your dog or whatever,
Yeah.
or it's your own garments or it's material for your own craft projects.
Yeah.
So you actually get this beautiful creative process.
Yeah.
And you can use anything in a Saori weave. You don't have to use a particular type of yarn. It doesn't have to be a particular type of cotton or a wool or whatever. You can use absolutely anything in your
Mm.
weave. And then from that bit of cloth, you can still cut it just like you would cloth, and sew it and create garments or use it in like patchworking or, just whatever you want to do
Yeah.
with it. So
Whatever
there's no
you can use fabric
limits.
for. Yeah.
Exactly. It's a woven fabric. And so you can use it for whatever you'd like to use woven fabric for. So it's a really lovely extra creative process that allows you to kind of have creativity in the fabric that you're
Yeah.
making.
Love that.
It's just so great. And the thing is too that because it's a very meditative craft, like you can be very prescribed at what you want to produce,
Yeah.
or you can just have fun playing with color and texture. If you're a hand spinner, oh my
Mm.
goodness, this is where the hand spun goes. This is where
Yeah.
all of your art yarn goes. If you're doing core spinning or beehives, they go straight in.
Yeah.
And it's such a beautiful way to be able to highlight and put on show your gorgeous hand spun. I find sometimes with hand spun, you take such great lengths to make a beautiful hand spun yarn. And then when you knit with it, sometimes it can kind of, those nuances in how you applied it and stuff can kind of get lost. Here on
Yeah.
a Saori loom, they're all on display.
Yeah.
So it's a really beautiful way for you to just be able to put things like hand spun straight in, putting raw fleece straight in. I'm a llama farmer as well.
Yeah.
And I love using some of my llama fleece in my weaving, and that can go straight into the weave as well. So anything goes,
And does it
Saori.
wash okay? Like, obviously, if you're making garments and things like that, you wanna be able to wash and wear. Um, I'm just thinking, like, with the fleece and stuff, is that more for wall hangings or I'm
It
just
does
confused.
depend.
I'm like, "Wait,
Yeah,
what?"
no, totally. Yeah, what? Stop. Yeah, look, it does depend on what you want to do with it. So when you're weaving
Yeah,
it, if you're going to be weaving a wall hanging, literally anything goes. You can have
yeah,
massive gaps in your weaving. You can do all sorts of stuff. If you're going to have something that you want to wash and wear quite a lot, you do want to kind of think about, okay, well, I can still put fleece in there,
yeah,
but I'm going to do it maybe in smaller amounts, so it's being
yeah,
held quite securely within the warp.
yeah.
But yeah, it's still doable for
Oh,
sure.
wow.
It's also a really great way to be able to use up stash and
Yeah.
just stuff, And so, like in a second, I'll jump on the loom and actually show people just how easy it is, but then also, how easy it is to use what you have around you, because Saori is very much about sustainability.
Yeah,
It's about being able to use what you have on hand. It's about being able to use anything that you like. You can use strips of fabric if you like. So if you're
yeah,
a fabric crafter and you've got so many bits of fabric in the
yeah.
stash, it's a beautiful way to be able to use your fabric in your weaving as well. And that's
I can imagine, like, a fabric strip thing, project, item would look amazing as a table runner
yes,
and be nice and
yes,
thick and dense so that you could actually use it with things like heavy pots or not pots, but, like hot serving dishes and things like that, and it's useful and beautiful. They're my 2
yes,
favorite things. I love making beautiful things, but I get frustrated when you've got to put them away when it's time to do useful things. So I love
yeah.
it when something that you make can just do that.
And it ticks both boxes, and
It
you've
does.
also potentially reused something. You've used the old t-shirt or the old cotton sheets or whatever it is, and
Yeah.
actually created something new that, yeah, is useful. It's great.
So, with your trips to Japan to learn how to do all of these things and being immersed and being part of the family, is that what made you decide to start your retreats to help other people have a similar feeling?
Yeah, it was one of the big reasons. So yeah, so I run these amazing retreats, and it's a 4-day immersive sari weaving retreat, and it's held at a traditional Japanese accommodation here in Victoria
Oh,
in a
wow.
place called
Yeah.
Hepburn Springs. So it's in our spa country
Yeah.
of Victoria out near Dalesford. And that came about because for two main reasons. The first one was that people who were buying looms from me would then take them home and they'd enjoy weaving with them. But then I'd catch up with them a few months down the track and I'm like, how's it going? And they said, you know what? I love my loom, but my family just keep asking me for stuff and I just never get a chance to just sit there and enjoy weaving at my loom for a really long period of time and get a
Yeah.
chance to kind of lock away the rest of the world and step out of my life. And so I thought, I think I need to be able to create that space for people, a chance for them to step out of their daily lives and step away from all of the demands placed on them and
Mhm.
just come and immerse themselves in meditative craft.
Yeah.
And then it was at a time too where I was also looking at taking people over to Japan
Yeah.
to learn and do crafts and things like that, to see the country that I really love. Because when you're immersed in that Japanese aesthetic, it just gives you this instantaneous zen. It comes through in whatever you're crafting in such a
Yeah.
beautiful way. And so I thought I would really love to do something like to take people over to Japan. And then I found out I was pregnant with my daughter, and I thought, oh, the Japan thing's on the back burner for a bit. But then I remembered that there was this incredible accommodation just
Yeah.
up the road from where I lived, which is quite literally a pocket of Japan. It is the most incredible traditional, it's a traditional Japanese inn, a ryokan. And so
Yeah.
the bedrooms are traditional tatami floor, gorgeous. Each room has its own private Japanese garden. And I bring the looms, and it's 4 days of just being able to immerse in this beautiful meditative creativity and just to be able to take time to step out of our lives. And that being said, and there's the most amazing chef there as well. So we eat incredible chef-prepared Japanese food, and we weave and eat and weave and eat and weave and eat, and it's gorgeous. And there's lots
It
of free
sounds
time, so people.
amazing.
It is incredible. It's so much fun. So I've just literally come back from doing that this weekend, and it's such a beautiful experience. So it's different. It's so different to anything that you can do here in Australia, and it's the cheapest way to get to Japan without having to go to Japan.
It's the cheapest way with no passport.
That's right. That's right. So yeah, so it's a really wonderful way to combine with that. Yeah.
And I know you've just gotten back from, but are people able to book in for your next one? Like, does it run annually or more often than annually, or?
Yeah, so I've got a whole lot of dates for 2023. So this retreat is becoming so popular that I'm having to run multiple retreats per year. So I have 5 retreats that I'm running next year. The March retreat is fully booked already, but there's some spaces left on some of the others. So if heading to the website is the best way to get all the information about the retreat, and you'll see the dates that are available for next year as well. And then, they do tend to book out pretty quickly. So
that's
people
amazing.
are keen.
That sounds so awesome. I'm like, I don't even Saori weave, and I'm like, oh,
and
maybe I could go to a retreat.
You certainly can, Chantelle. Like, you don't have to have any weaving experience. You don't have any Saori experience whatsoever, because it is perfect for complete and absolute beginners and seasoned Saori weavers as well. So I will teach you everything you need to know. The looms are there, threaded up and ready to go. So you turn up and just tap into that beautiful creativity. So the retreat really is for absolutely anyone. You don't need to have any experience.
And you don't have to have your own loom either.
Don't have to have your own loom. I provide all of the looms. So the great thing about Saori looms is that they actually fold up. So you'll see one just sitting behind me here. That one's all folded up. So they're very portable. So I can bring all the looms with me and set them all up so that
those
you
of us
just
that
come
are
and do the fun
interstate
part.
can just fly in with our bags full of things to weave and fly out with those individual items as fabric ready to be washed.
Yes, absolutely. So I had people come down from Canberra. I had people come down from Sydney. I had someone come down from Queensland. And then from all over Victoria as well at my last retreat. So it was a really wonderful opportunity to come together in a really gorgeous space as crafters and make some incredible things. And actually, when you're on retreat, when you do get some time to loom, you do get to tap into that meditative ability for Saori. So Saori was really creative. The creator of Saori wanted to create a craft where you could truly express yourself at the loom and express yourself through creativity. Now, traditionally, weaving is often very pattern-based. It's very precise. You've got a pattern that you're trying to, replicate, or that you've even drafted yourself. But you have to be so careful that you're following that pattern because you don't want to stuff it up because it'll be so obvious.
Yeah.
And the great thing about Saori is that it's the opposite of that. In fact, the word Saori actually means unique weaving. It comes from 2 Japanese words. Sai meaning originality or uniqueness, or everything has its own unique life, and Ori meaning weaving. So together it becomes Saori. And that's exactly what you're doing. You are making a one-of-a-kind piece of cloth. You're using your yarns are the hero. Your textures are the hero. You just a couple of techniques and you're already making something really, really simple and gorgeous. And that's where, you can then use that in whatever project you want. But it's all about being really simple. And it's a bit different. Like the looms are a bit different to your traditional looms because they are made to be really easy to use. Saori want you to get to the fun part really quickly. So they don't want you to have to spend hours setting up your loom, threading it, that sort of stuff. So they want you to get really to the quick stuff. So, and they want to make it really easy. If you'll indulge me, I'll quickly show you just how
I'll make
easy
you big
it is.
so we can see.
Make me big.
There you go.
So I've just got a really lovely piece that I've got on the loom, and maybe I'll even try moving you just a little bit further forward.
There you go.
So you can sort of see what I'm up to. Beautiful. So I've already started weaving, and I've been doing some really beautiful texture on this in this weave. I've been using lots of different things from my basket. But this is all there is to it. So you're just passing your shuttle through. And I'm actually operating the heddles with pedals. So there's only 2 heddles. So it's a really simplified form of weaving, just with warp and weft. But because of that, it's a really fast way to weave. And as you can see, I'm not even looking at what I'm doing. I don't even have to concentrate. But I'm starting to create a beautiful, that blue bit, which I've just done there, is just what I've done when I've been talking to you.
Gosh, it just powers in, doesn't it?
It does. It's so, so quick. It's faster than knitting. It's faster than anything. Now I'm just loosening up my thread slightly now. And what I'm doing is now I'm going to start to create a little bit of kind of a boucle texture happening. So Saori is about playing with color and texture to make something that is absolutely gorgeous. But because of this easy way of moving, it just, the loom becomes an extension of your body. You know, often with rigid heddle or with other looms, you're sort of having to maneuver levers, or
you're having to lean across them. And like, I'm just looking at like how you're sitting and how relaxed your posture is. It does seem like you could do that for hours.
You can. You really can. When I went to learn at Saori, I had to be at the loom for about 7 hours a day to actually, you know, do all the techniques and stuff. And I thought, oh, you're crippled, because I have a really bad back. But it's not. It has been designed, so the whole loom, you can sort of see the rest of the loom there. It's been designed to be as ergonomic as possible. Kenzo, who designed these looms, wants to make sure that weaving is as enjoyable, as efficient, and as easy as possible. And so that's where being able to sit, because often when you have a loom, you're reaching, you're leaning, you're lifting levers. It's so taxing on your body. But this is just, you're just sitting, and it's just so incredibly relaxing. It's
relaxing easy to watch, honestly. I'm just sort of sitting here thinking, do I have room in my little tiny house that's full of stuff for another thing? And I'm like looking at the packed up one there in the background, like when I'm not, is it easy? Like that one's packed up because you're not using it. Is that right?
Oh, like, it's just been folded up. So at any point,
like unpack, sit and start weaving, like it's, and you can just pack it up mid-project?
Yep, mid-project. Yep. Oh, so I can just fold this up halfway through doing what I'm doing, and I can just tuck it out of the way. But what I often find is that people sort of say, oh, you know, yes, I'll put it out of the way when I'm using it. But it's such a beautiful bit of equipment that it stays in their lounge room, because they are so these are handcrafted by just 4 people in Japan at Saori out of Japanese cherry wood. And they're just divine. Everything about them is just beautifully made. Now, with the weaving, I mean, what I'm going to do now, so I've just delved into my stash and all my little bits and pieces. I have something I call the basket of awesome, which is just all my odds and ends from projects that I just don't have any other use for. I've also found a use.
Oh no, for Muppet Murder.
Yes, I've got feathers yarn and eyelash yarn, and I have found its new lease on life. So, because you know, everyone's been through one of these phases, haven't they? And now we don't want to touch it with a barge pole. So now have a look at how easy it is to actually use it. All I'm going to do is just get a little bit of this yarn, and this is just a tiny amount. Couldn't use it for anything else. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to slide that in the middle of my warp there.
Just as a chunk, right in the middle.
Just a chunk. Chunked it in. And then I'm going to pass my shuttle through, and then I'm going to gently beat. And now I have this beautiful bit of texture.
Of soft texture. Look at that. Wow.
In my weave. So it is all about being able to use whatever you have around you to create something that is very beautiful, very unique, very gorgeous, and super simple to do. Super, like, it's got beautiful flow. You've got that meditative element to it. So it's a really, really lovely style of weaving. It's so different to any other style of weaving that's out there. The looms are so different to any other style of loom that's out there, because it means that anyone, I mean, hello, I'm a zoologist. I came from a very, very non-weaving background to start this. Anyone of any ability or no ability can just learn a technique and start making cloth instantaneously. It's almost like a money back guarantee. I'll make you a weaver in 10 seconds. You know, it's so much fun. And when I do, you know, demonstrations at festivals and events, a really important part of that is to actually get people at the loom to have a try, because people often don't realize how incredibly fast and fun and easy it is.
Yeah.
So just in the time I've been talking to you, Chantelle, I've already done all of this blue section.
Gosh,
so I've already done
that's
all
phenomenal.
that.
Yeah.
So within just a couple of hours, you've made a great big yardage of cloth that you can use in your project. It's so, so simple. So and Saori,
sorry, I was just going to ask, like, obviously, like that's sort of like a scarfish width that you've got there. What kind of widths of fabric can you do?
Good question. So I've got, a warp on for a bit of a narrow width because I did want to pump out a few scarves. But you can, on this particular model, you can weave up to 60 centimeters.
Yeah.
So now, that's with the widest warp that you can put on this loom. But of course, with a lot of the stuff that you want to do, there's kind of this fallacy that you have to have a massive loom to make massive bits of cloth. When you're making garments, I mean, this is made of 2 sections sewn side by side. So you can, widen your cloth just by sewing pieces together.
The pieces
this
together.
Piece here, these are panels that have been sewn together. So you're not really restricted on making really wide cloth just because you have a loom that's, 60 centimeters. But on this loom, the maximum that you're weaving is 60 centimeters. And with Saori, they want you to get to this part really quickly, the fun, creative part. And they understand that when you have a loom, some of the looms that are out there can take anywhere from 5 hours
is a
to
nightmare.
5 days, right? Yeah, and you've lost the will to live, much less weave anything.
Yeah, it's like you've got to warp on one day because, like, you can't face anything else that day.
Yeah.
The next day you'll be weaving. Yeah.
Or just falling in a heap for a bit.
Yeah, because you're just like, I'm just going to have some pain relief after bending over this warp for 27 hours.
Exactly. So Saori recognised that can be really arduous and really off-putting for people too. A lot of people don't want to start weaving because they don't want the complication of having to set up this arduous machine in order to actually make some cloth. So Saori recognised that, and bless their cotton socks, they actually, and I'll just lean down here, they make the warps for you.
Oh, wow.
So you can actually get through your entire Saori weaving life having a loom at home without ever needing to make a warp. And they put these on 30-meter rolls. So you can just slide this on your loom, you thread it up once, and it's a really straightforward process. And I make sure that if you do purchase a loom from the Dyeing to Weave studio, you are fully trained in how to thread up your loom and weave on it. Because I want people to be confident with their looms at home. But you thread it up once and then you've got 30 meters to enjoy weaving. Now, at any point, you can cut the piece off that you're weaving and start a new piece. You don't have to weave all 30 meters at once. So there's a lot of flexibility there. And then also, bless them, because black might not be everyone's cup of tea, they do lots of coloured warps as well.
Oh, lovely.
So isn't it great? So they actually have thought of everything. The other thing that they do about these looms that I love that's really different to other looms is that if you do have a 30-meter warp on, and say it's one narrow warp like this, I might want to do something different. I might want to weave on my blue warp now, or weave on a wider warp. So they've actually created something called the inside set. And what the inside set is, it's another set of the inner workings of your loom. So the heddles, the reed, the warp extension set. And so you can actually thread up and use this, and you can interchange it at any point.
So if you feel like weaving on the scarf this morning, but this afternoon you've got to work on the fabric, you can just switch it out. Wow.
Yeah, it takes less than a minute. And I've switched it over, and it also means like multiple people can use the same loom. Like you might have an inside set, but your sister or your husband or your daughter or your son or the neighbor next door might have an inside set, and you can kind of share the loom because you've each got your own project that you can weave on at the same time. I've got a lot of students.
And it doesn't take 20 hours to set it back up again every time.
No, it's literally just switching them over by hanging them on hooks. And it's really, really simple. I've got quite a lot of my students have their looms, and their grandmothers, their grandparents, and of course when the grandkids come to stay, they want to use the loom as well. And so a lot of them will have an inside set, which is what the grandkids can use. And then they have their own special projects.
I love that. That's so cool.
It is. It's really beautiful. Like, it's such a beautiful way to be able to get into weaving. If anyone's ever wanted to sort of start weaving, but they've always felt it's a little bit intimidating, or they feel like they need a mathematics degree to start it, this is the best way, the best gateway into cloth making on the loom, which is really, really gorgeous. So, and you can do, you know, really beautiful, simple bits of cloth. So that's just a really lovely, simple piece that I've just done there.
That's lovely. That looks so
Yeah.
textured. But
it's yeah. Just a soft wool and some silk.
While you can use the Saori warps, can you use your own warp? Like, can you physically warp yourself if you wanted to?
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. And that's a really straightforward process as well. So they have really simplified that process too. Yeah. And it only takes, you know, you can sort of, it takes just an hour or two just to make your own warp from scratch. And this is one that I have made. This is a warp I made myself. This was actually my wedding shawl, which was very, very special.
Oh, it's very special.
Yeah. So yeah, so you can make your own warps, and I teach that as well. So it's really wonderful because it then allows you to take your creativity that next level where you're choosing, you know, what beautiful cones of yarn you want to use, making the warp, and then the next level of creativity is how you thread that warp. The next level of creativity is how you weave that warp, and then the final level is how you wet finish that and turn it into something cool. So there's so many levels of creativity. And the thing about the Saori loom is because there's so many levels of creativity, you never get bored of it. It's not like you're just doing the same pattern over and over and over and kind of, you know, yeah, I've done that pattern now, I've done that twirl, I've done that house, yep. I'm just changing the color or changing the yarn. Every single time you set the loom, it is such a different journey, and it's this beautiful, tangible meditation, you know, a tangible output of your time at the loom, which is gorgeous.
Gosh, it just sounds so wonderful. So I always have to think of things like as a remote person because I never seem to be local to anybody who does anything. When you say that you'll make sure that everyone can learn how to do it, like say somewhere like I'm in Queensland, you're in Victoria. How would you make sure that I could use it?
So this was really and it's such an important point, Chantelle, because there's, you know, being one of only 3 in Australia, not everyone can get to the studio. But I'm really passionate about if you have a loom at home, that you are confident and happy and supported in using it. So COVID certainly helped in developing this even further, because suddenly I had people who couldn't get to the studio to come and do their training for their looms. So I have a comprehensive and fully guided and supported online Saori studio program. And so anyone that buys a loom from the Dying to Weave studio, you will then have the opportunity to be part of that program. And so every month I jump on Zoom and we do our weaving class together. I have videos on there so that you at any point in time can learn and refresh how to thread up your loom, do different weaving techniques, troubleshoot anything that might go wrong. And then I also have, as part of that program, a really lovely closed Facebook group where it's an amazing community of people and of Saori loom owners, and right around Australia. I've got people in the far reaches of the backlots of Western Australia. I've got people in far north Queensland, down in Tasmania, all over the place. And it's a wonderful way that we can all come together and share the inspiration, because Saori is very much about inspiring each other with what we're doing. We're actually expressing ourselves, our own individual self, through our creativity, but then it's really wonderful to be able to see what someone else is doing at their loom in far north Queensland, to see what someone's doing on their loom over in South Australia, and to gather online and kind of, you know, interact with each other. And it's a way that I can just keep holding your hand and guiding you so that you're getting the most out of your loom. Because the last thing I'd want is for someone to buy one of these looms and have it at home and then not know how to use it to the best way. So it's really something that geography, you know, I have people contacting me who have never done any Saori weaving before, but they're really, really interested in weaving or learning how to weave, and they've bought a loom, and I can provide them with everything they need to get started, no matter where they are in Australia.
Oh, wow. I love that. I love the support, because it's so often that people will find something that they're interested in. They'll buy what they need to buy. They might be at a show. They might be at a craft show or a wool show or something like that. But then they get home, and because of the event, your brain does turn to liquid, and you're just taking in all the sights and all the sounds and everything. And you think you've been like in the moment, like, yes, I'm going to go home and I'm just going to do this first. But then you go home and fall down for a little while first, because the whole show experience is normally pretty, big.
Crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and then when it comes time to use it, you're like, oh, uh,
What did they say again?
yeah, there
How
was
did I
something I
do
had
this
to do
again?
first, wasn't there? There was
That's
something that
right.
I absolutely had to do very first before I do anything else, and it was blank.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so I love that you have that hand holding, the membership where people can come in and not just learn more from you, but it sounds like they can also learn and support each other as well.
So much. And I find that a lot is that, some people are just making the most amazing garments. And so when they put their garments up, it's just so inspiring because everyone's like, oh, how did you make that top? Or I love that jacket. Oh my goodness. The colors you've used or the texture you've used or just the way you've created it. And
Yeah.
so it's a really beautiful way for us to really kind of interact with each other, no matter where we are. And this was, so important during the pandemic years and stuff like that,
Yeah.
where we were so trapped in our own lounge rooms doing creativity and isolation. To
Yeah.
have that community that you can tap into no matter where you are, no matter how remote you are or how much you can or can't get to a craft group. So having the people come into the community, a lot of people just they love being part of that community and
Yeah.
supporting other weavers in the community and offering up, the work they've got going on. And we do a lot of social weaving sessions as well. So
Yeah.
each month I'll teach a technique and then we'll actually share and create together and, through that online space. So it's a really beautiful supportive network as well of people who are, Saori weaving in their own homes.
It sounds so wonderful, honestly. I'm like, don't buy a new loom. Don't buy a new loom. It's like that's what's running through my head at the moment. But there's just so many positives to why I would look at buying a loom from you. Like, I love the whole idea of the Saori ethos and the meditation behind it, because quite often a lot of us use our craft for that. We have,
Yes.
it's a way for us to sit back and just try and let go of what's been happening throughout the day and just sort of focus and immerse ourselves in something else, as something that needs our brains on it. But to have
Yep.
the Saori would also mean that you don't, like, you can either be as in-depth brain wise to try and create something amazing, or you can just let it flow. And I love that. It's kind of
Yeah.
how I spin. I know most people are like technical spinners. I am not a technical spinner. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Like, I'm
Just
watching Midsummer
let it
Murders,
go.
and if I
Yeah.
happen to half doze off while it's happening, then I happen to doze off. And
Yeah.
I love that is also the same sort of, like, I can imagine that I would have the same level of relaxation and the same level that I do from spinning that I get that I would probably get from this as well. I I'm just like, oh, I'm sold. Now
It,
now, during the Big Wool Show weekend, you are going to be running some specials through the show, aren't you?
I am. So I will be offering up looms for sale during the Big Wool Show if people are, this is something they really would like to do and to have at home. So I will be offering some pretty amazing show specials. So I'll be offering a loom package, and that's
Yep.
everything that gets you going. So you get the loom, the shuttle, the bobbins, a walk to get you started. You get the threading tools, but you also get training with me.
Yep.
And then I'm going to be throwing in a whole lot of other bonuses for the Big Wool Show weekend.
Gosh, that sound like the bonuses, but that's not the bonuses.
No,
But wait,
like
there's more.
that's the package. But wait for your steak knives. So I'm going to actually be throwing in even more stuff because I want Big Wool Show participants to be able to really tap into something a bit special. And so so there'll be an amazing package that will be available during the Big Wool Show. I'll also have a giveaway happening. So I do have an online store of beautiful yarns from Japan. And I mean, we're talking, gorgeous. This is some Tussar silk that we've got going
Oh,
on that'll
wow.
be in the store. It's some amazing colors. So I'll be having a giveaway, just a little bit of a close up there.
Yeah, because they're
Um,
gorgeous.
they are amazing. So I'll have a
Yeah.
bit of a giveaway for anyone that purchases something from the store over $50. Then they go into the draw to win a beautiful yarn set on top of that, which is
Oh, wow.
great.
That sounds amazing.
Um,
And you're going to be joining
yeah.
us for our live sessions as well?
I will. I can't wait. Yes, so I think I'm on Saturday afternoon. I'll be joining you for a live stream and talking. I'll talk you through some of those amazing bonuses that I have with the loom
Wow.
and the giveaway. And if you head to the Dying to Weave website, so you will find lots more information about the looms, and you'll find the links on the Big Wool Show page as well. But you'll
Yeah.
find lots of demonstrations about the loom, lots of information about the loom. There's also, I've got a free download on my website as well. So we were just talking about the importance of making time for that mindful craft and the importance of being able to step out and just immerse ourselves in our craft.
Yeah.
What I often find is that life gets in the way for me and I don't set aside enough time for my
Yeah.
craft. And so in order for me to
Yeah.
have a
But
better
isn't that
work-life.
the way it is for people at the moment, is they never set aside enough time for themselves. They've got
Exactly.
family, they've got kids, they've got sporting things, they've got everything outside of the house, and they plan that to the nth degree in their calendars. But when it comes time to look after yourself and to set some self, because I put my craft in with my self-care time now.
Yep.
And it's just so important. And so how do you promote that?
Well, I have put together a creative project planner. And so this for me kind of, because I have 1,000 ideas in my head as well about what I want to do. Like I'll go and have a look in my stash and go, oh, I want to use that yarn, and maybe I'll use that one in a project and I'll do this. And then I kind of get a little bit overwhelmed by all the stuff that I've got or all the works in progress that I have going on at the same time. And I'm like, oh, what do I do first? So what I did was I actually created this beautiful creative project planner, and it's a way for me to just kind of pop down and just kind of have a bit of a think about what next steps I have for the different projects, what time I'm going to set aside for those beautiful projects, what I might need to, procure in order to finish those projects. So it's just very much, if you like to be able to, like you were saying, we plan the rest of our lives, but often we don't plan our self-care and don't give that enough time and attention. This is a really lovely way to maximize that time you may have with your self-care and your creativity and really kind of drill down on, okay, what do I actually want to achieve? Do I have projects I want to do for Christmas? Have I
Yeah.
promised to make someone socks for Christmas or their birthday? Shit, that's in like a month's time. Oh my goodness, I better do something about it. So, it's a really lovely way to be able to kind of sit down and go, okay, what ideas have I got in my head about projects that are coming up? What have I already got in progress? And to kind of jot it down and get it a little bit more in your head and to just kind of commit to yourself to
Yeah.
make that time for your mindfulness and your creativity. So that's a free download available on my website. So you'll find the
Fantastic.
creative project planner on the website as well, which is really, really cool.
I love that. It has been so much fun chatting with you today, Prue, and I'm so glad that we were able to get this time together as well to just talk about something that you are so obviously passionate about that it's totally infectious. Um, and I can't wait for the Big Wool Show weekend where we can talk to you again and find out what these amazing show specials are, and just to see, like, I love watching your journey. If you haven't seen Prue's previous videos, if you go through the Big Wool Show channel, there are other things here that Prue's been talking about, some other instructionals and things like that from previous years. So you can go and check out Prue's journey as well, which is just, I think, is always a special thing to do.
Absolutely. I think last year also, so I do a whole other part of dyeing to weave, which I haven't even talked about today, but that's the Japanese eco dyeing. So the Bengala dyeing, which is a beautiful eco dye. And so last year I was doing a bit of a talk about that sort of stuff and a tutorial on that one. And yeah, that's another real element to fibercraft, as well as being able to have an eco dye, which is really, really easy to use.
Yeah.
And handcrafted. So yeah, you'll find some of that there too, which will be really fun.
That's wonderful. Well, our time is over today, Prue, but I am so glad that we could have this time, and I will be definitely talking to you very soon.
I look forward to it. Thank you so much for having me. I hope everyone has the most amazing Big Wool show, and I hope to see them in the future at the studio. Thanks so much, Chantelle.
Thank you.